This story comes from both Thailand and Myanmar. If I were a king, if I were a king, I would make sure there was a stream running through my bedroom so I could listen to it as I went to sleep. If I were a king, I would make sure that nobody went hungry. Now, if you were kings or queens, what would you wish for? Anybody, don't be shy. What would you wish for?
No more common core.
Wish it
No more common core.
No more common core will be on my own heart, yes. Somebody else.
No more cold.
Excuse me?
Peace on earth.
Peace on earth. Leni, I know that you can do this. Could you say that in the king's voice, please?
Peace on earth.
Excellent. Peace on earth. Yes.
A home for everyone.
A home for everyone, yes. And?
Unwaxed meets dental floss.
A man after my own heart, yes. New wax dental floss, yes. There was one other person in the back. Yes.
The end of the class system.
The end of the class system. Excellent. Oh, okay, Tony.
Peach pie.
And of course, peach pie. Well, this is the story of a king who every day stood in his chamber, leaning against his windowsill, eating his puffed rice and honey, and talking to his advisor. Now, one day he was doing just that. He was leaning against his windowsill, eating his puffed rice and honey, and talking to his advisor, when gravity took over and the honey began to, you got it, drip onto the windowsill. And the advisor saw this and said, Asaya, there seems to be some honey on that windowsill. Let me do something about it. But the king said, never mind, it's not our problem. Now that's your part, so everybody get your hands ready. Here we go. Never mind, it's not our problem. And so the king continued to lean against his window, eating his and talking to his advisor. Well, once again, gravity took over and that honey began to drip to the street down below. And as you know, nothing goes to waste in nature, and soon a little bee came along and started to eat that honey. But as I said, nothing goes to waste in nature, and so soon Any guesses?
Gecko.
Anything else?
Gecko.
A gecko! Excellent! A gecko! Wow, that's great. Not everybody gets that. Yes, a gecko came along and ate that bee. And soon a cat came along and ate that gecko. And soon a dog came along and started to chase that cat. Well, up above in the chamber, the advisor saw this and said, Asaya, there seems to be a dog and a cat down below in the street, fighting with each other. Don't you think we should do something about it? But the king said, never mind, it's not our problem. And so the king continued to lean against his window, eating his and talking to his advisors. Well, soon the owner of the cat came along and started to beat on the dog. And soon the owner of the dog came along and started to beat on the cat. And soon the owner of the dog and the cat were beating on each other. Well, up above in the chamber, the advisor saw this and said, Asaya, there seems to be a man and a woman down below in the street, fighting with each other. Don't you think we should do something about it? But the king said, never mind, it's not our problem. And so the king continued to lean against his window, eating his and talking to his advisor. Well, down below in the streets, the owner, the friends of the owner of the cat came along and took sides with him. And the friends of the owner of the dog came along and took sides with her. And soon there were many people fighting in the streets. Things got so bad that the police were called out. But when the police heard the story of the man and the woman, they too took sides with one or the other. And soon they were fighting amongst themselves. Well, up above in the chamber, the advisor saw this and said, Sire, there seems to be many people down below in the street fighting with each other, including our police. Don't you think we should do something about it? But the king said, never mind, it's not our problem. And so the king continued to lean against his, eating his, and talking to his. Well, soon things got so bad that the army was called out. And before anyone knew it, there was a full-out civil war. And well, you know what happens in wars. People get hurt. People get killed. Buildings burn to the ground. And in fact, the very building that the king and his advisor was standing in started to burn. And the advisor, being a smart man, didn't wait to ask the king whether he should do something about it. He started to run out of the burning building, and the king ran after him saying, Advisor, perhaps you were right. Perhaps the drop of honey was our problem. And that's my story for you.